Good morning. Hearing will come to order. Earlier this year, as one Susan Naylor at the table knows, in Parkersburg, West Virginia, I spent one of the most wonderful 3 hours that I've ever spent. It was on a Sunday afternoon, I think, or Saturday afternoon.
No, it was on a school day. We had a snow day.
As I said, it was on a snow day, and it wasn't on Saturday or Sunday. And anyway, it was, you seek these things when you're in an office like mine. You never have the chance to sort of sit down and talk with people who are doing what you're worried about and what you care about. And so I went over to Parkersburg, and they had teachers there, including Susan Naylor, who teach, actually I think it was math and science, but in the STEM concept, that's 50%. And we spent 3 hours talking about, how do you get to a child who, since this is elementary through high school, how do you get to a child? How do you get to a youngster on any of these subjects, particularly obviously math and science? They're resistant to them. They're afraid of them. The word science is a scary name to some. And we just had this fascinating talk, and each of them, one of the teachers had been a coal miner, and she brought quite a disciplined aspect to it, but it was just an extraordinary experience in learning about how science and math teachers deal with students and how they get them to pay attention and to learn and to feel very good about that. Good morning, Senator Hutchinson. Anyway, so we had that. We talked for hours, and it really gave me tremendous hope, that experience. Not just because I know those students are getting a great education from terrific teachers, but I also know that they're becoming potentially a huge investment in our future. When the America Competes Act became law in 2007, we were making a commitment to the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics disciplines, i.e. STEM. America's place as a global leader was apparent, unhappily, in all of those areas. The Act established several new education programs at the National Science Foundation, the Departments of Energy, Departments of Education, and it boosted funding for something which I cared about a lot called the Robert Noyce Teacher Scholarship, which is kind of math-based. And I worked with Congressman Sherry Bowler, who's not even here anymore, in the House. He's a wonderful, absolutely wonderful person on education, science, and technology back in 2002 to get this program enacted and provide scholarships for science, math, and engineering students to become K through 12 math and science teachers. Since it was signed into law, this program has supported, and I love this, the funding for about 7,700 teachers of those subjects who will reach students in some of the highest need school districts across the country. Programs like these are really long-term investments. They don't attract a lot of public attention, but they affect the way the public's going to be 10, 15, 20, 30 years from now. They pay incredible dividends. A world-class STEM workforce is absolutely fundamental to us in this century and the ones in front of us. From developing clean sources of energy that reduce our dependence on foreign oil to discovering cures for diseases. Projections from the Bureau of Labor Statistics indicate that over 80% of the fastest growing occupations depend on knowledge of mathematics and science. Figure I read was 80%. That's huge. Does one learn a lesson from that, or does one just simply ingest that and go about the business of the day? I ingest it. I think we all do here. But the National Science Board reported this year that although the United States continues to lead the world in science and engineering, other countries are closing the gap by increasing their own investments, and that they are doing, and for sure. And our position in the world on some of these things is troubling. With America Competes, the bill, We planted the seeds of something very powerful, but we have to nurture the investment if we want to reap the results and the benefits. The authorizations in that legislation expire this year. Probably one reason for this hearing, wouldn't you think? And as we look towards reauthorization, we need to evaluate our progress. In March, the committee heard from the heads of several government agencies who echoed the long-term value of these investments: math, science, engineering, and technology. With today's hearing, I'm very excited to hear from the incredible people who are actually making good on STEM's great promise. I thank you all. Susan Naylor, who I promised not to talk about too much, is here from Wood County, West Virginia, was among the teachers I spoke with that day. She works every day in the trenches, and she won a national award for her teaching. Also, Dr. Jim Gates, a physics professor at the University of Maryland who has his own STEM story and now inspires a new generation of scientists. These are practitioners. They're doctors in a sense. They're teachers and doctors. I mean, it's the same thing. You're trying to get people to care about taking care of themselves, learning, enlarging their futures. And we have a lot to learn from these folks at the witness table about what works on the ground and what does not. I also want to welcome our other very impressive witnesses and thank them for sharing their experiences today. Number one, David Zaslav, president of Discovery Communications. I mean, that's all you have to say. That's one of the television stations I still do watch. And Yanis Mialis, who is president and director of the Museum of Science. And it says here Science Boston, but I think it should be Science in Boston. Yeah, okay. And also founding director of the National Center for Technological Literacy. And Tom Luce, CEO of the National Math and Science Initiative and former Assistant Secretary of Education for Planning, Evaluation, and Policy. I hope all of you will speak about the importance of integrating our efforts. In other words, we must continue to support STEM disciplines at school, elementary, secondary, and beyond. But we also then absolutely have to be sure that our students are getting the same support at home, which is a much more complicated subject, and from the media, which is a very much more complicated subject. So this is incredibly important. I'm really proud of what you do. An investment in our community and our country's future, that's what we all want to do in one way or another.